What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Thursday. We're gonna just do a quick preview of the showdown slate tonight between Denver and the Chargers. Yeah, I'll be live later at 7 to talk about the final thoughts about this. Hopefully, we'll see sheets there, but not counting on it. Yeah. So anyway, it's a fun little one gamer. Overall takes on the game. I like the Chargers to win this game. I don't know if I want to lay the 2.5. I think it's a reasonable enough number, but I like the Chargers to bounce back after that awful performance against Tampa Bay. Sheets, any overall thoughts before we start talking about some positions, captains, etc.?
Yeah, maybe I'm going to be recency biased here a little bit, but I think Denver's going to be able to move the ball against the Chargers. I didn't like what I saw from the Chargers defense last week. They got guys out, but hey, listen, it's pick 'em spread, low total, so you're supposed to probably play it that way. But there's some. I think there's some good plays, some good things to talk about ball wise. Like, first of all, you have for Denver, you have. I think it's pretty clear now that you have Javonte Williams, being the top running back now, with what's his name out. The other thing that you can really think about is what's going to happen with the Chargers running back situation, because Vidal got everything last week, but they were coming from behind the whole time pretty much.
Right.
So, what do you think? I mean, you think like they're going to stick with Edwards and Vidal, or is it's give it to Vidal time?
I think it's game flow dependent a little bit, but I also think that I have no interest in Javonte Williams, as I don't think that he is really their I don't know why we would assume he's their primary running back.
Who else?
McLaughlin's gotten more touches.
I think he's out, isn't he?
Did he just get in? I have him as in. What did I miss? Oh my God, he is out. I'm sorry about that. For some reason I still had him as in. That's my fault. Well, in that case, I definitely do like him a little better, but I also think Estime and could we play the Blake Watson for 200 potentially, because they've been using all three running backs every game, no matter what. So I never feel good about playing Javonte Williams. He just never gets there. He had one game, I think, this year. But I personally, usually on Thursdays, I want to play running backs, tight ends, and kickers. And I still want to play the kickers and potentially the tight end, at least Stone Smart for sure on the other side. But
who's the guy you mentioned from Denver, the other running back?
Blake Watson's the third string because he's 200.
I have Michael Burton at 200.
That's possible, but I'm just looking at the depth chart right here. I've got Watson in this third, but I'm not sure that's accurate because we haven't seen
Blake Watson 200. I have a 0 projection, so I don't even have him. So
okay. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he has a projection. But I'm just looking at their depth chart, and he is their on their depth chart it's the third. But I actually think Estime is the one that I would be the most interested in. He's too expensive. It's a little tricky with this, but I think for me, I'm gonna play more defense and kickers in this particular game than I normally would. And I ran some builds, and the captain, I'm a little too chalky. The one I feel the best about getting a little overweight, or the two I feel the best about getting a little overweight, would be Quentin Johnston and Vele. But I think Stone Smart also makes some sense. So those are my three differentiating captains. What are you sort of seeing as captain?
Well, I'm just kind of looking at the game still. I mean, I didn't really build anything yet, but actually I did. I haven't looked at it. But coming off probably going to be active tonight is going to be Hayden Hurst for the Chargers. So I don't think it's necessarily all going to be Stone Smart.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you get Hayden Hurst active at 1,600, that might be something good in the big MMEs. The other thing is the Chargers receivers. I think that with I don't know, there's Johnson, but then I think these others are very, you could screw around with all these, excuse me, there's McConkey, but then after that, I think between Johnston and Palmer and even playing some DJ Shark even, I'm thinking about this from a showdown perspective. So I'm going for all this stuff. Darius Davis seems to get the ball too often for me. You know what I mean? Like whenever I turn my head, like he's got the ball somehow in some trick play. He has it. He's only 800. But again, if you're thinking this game is not going to be all that high scoring, then you don't have to get into this too much. But Yeah, I kind of like all that stuff. And the way that I look at Denver is it's literally like a four-way battle for wide receiver two. You know, like you have Sutton, and you like Vele better than the other guys.
Yeah, I like Vele in general much better than the other guys, except for Mims. Mims,
Okay.
because he also will get carries in the backfield. They've done that a bunch with him this year, and I like his upside. So he's the I'll have more Vele as a captain, but I'll have a good amount of Mims tonight. And yeah, Vele just, again, he's so cheap that I think that you could definitely take that shot there. And he does have upside. He's a rookie. They've had a decent connection other than last week. But I'm a little bit interested in Vele, even though he's had a couple of down games in a row. I think that he's one of my favorite differentiators as far as captains go. And I really don't think look, it's going to be there's a lot of guys projected over 10 for double-digit ownership. I'm going to be underweight the Javonte Williams. I'm going to be underweight Bo Nix. I'll probably be underweight Herbert, and but I don't know if I want to be underweight McConkey and Sutton because their workload just seems so sure right now. So that's what I was thinking about. Like I have a hard time Xing them out of my captain stuff where I feel much more comfortable doing it with the quarterbacks and with Javonte Williams specifically. I also don't like this. Like the Gus Edwards just depends on how well you think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think Vidal is the guy I would rather play between the two of them. I do like Vidal, I would give him the edge over Edwards. I also think he has a better chance to break a big play. Edwards is just sort of slodging, and maybe he gets into the touchdown variance. Maybe that's where he comes through. But mostly, I would prefer the Vidal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of into this. I think that a lot of these wide receiver twos and stuff. I think this is a lot open up in the air. So Vele is fine, but I think all these other guys are good too. You mentioned Marvin Mims, but they always seem to like the little Jordan Humphrey, and Troy Franklin. I think in Showdown, I think you could take shots at all of that, and even at tight ends, they have it seems like they have 80 of them, but Lucas Kroll, he gets lucky, he could do something. I think it's going to be a slate to play these kind of bad plays, especially listen, like if you think it's gonna be low scoring, it's not gonna be one of those situations where, boy, I took a shot at Lucas Kroll. He got 3 catches for 30 yards and it didn't help me, but I think on a low scoring slate, it will help you.
Right.
So
the question is which of they play all 3 of their tight ends. Kroll has been the least productive, but is on the field. I mean, it's really like flipping a coin. I personally, I guess I would go Adkins first of the tight ends. And I have Franklin and little Jordan Humphrey a little bit further back, but I actually think Franklin's the better play than little Jordan personally. Humphrey hasn't had a target in a couple weeks. I don't think he played much last week, if at all. I got to double check that, but I like your Palmer idea. And as you mentioned, it is one of those slates. So getting some DJ Shark or Darius Davis. I'm a little worried Darius Davis, they might just sit because he's fumbled both of the last 2 weeks. And Harbaugh is one of those guys who does like to punish you for fumbling. So that's, they lost 2 big fumbles. I think the last 2 weeks, right? Yeah, pretty sure it was. Yeah.
I guess one kind of funny thing you could do. I think that one of the I'm underestimating the projection people, but I think that part of Herbert's projection is based on stuff that's not around right now. Like he was running the ball a little bit earlier this season, but he's still banged up. I
agree that he's banged up.
Yeah, I don't think that he's like much of a factor as far as that stuff goes anymore. So if the projection is kind of like including that in some way, I don't mind fading Herbert or just make sure that if you play Herbert that you have receivers, where you like Bo Nix, I don't care. He can run a little bit,
Yeah.
He can run. And so I don't mind if I get some lineups with him without like Sutton or without like receivers or something like that. But I don't think I would go Herbert without a receiver.
Or, I mean, you could play him with Vidal. Vidal will catch passes out of the backfield. So
Right.
I don't mind that possibility, but I agree with your overall sentiment that he's not really moving that same way, and Bo Nix certainly is. I think Bo Nix is the better play between the two of them tonight, and for some reason is getting slightly lower ownership. But I think it is. I mean, look, playing it as a low scoring slate, defenses, maybe some of these fringy plays are the ones that get there. Maybe 12 fantasy points, sort of like Monday night. Like you got 12 fantasy points from basically anybody. You felt pretty thrilled about it because it was just an ugly slog for 2 games. So I agree that maybe spreading out your pool and having exposure to the entire receiving cores as well as the running backs. And I just want to see what happens later today if we hear Blake Watson or whoever it is that suits up as the third running back. Just because Denver every game has used 3 running backs, and I know it's partly because who the running backs are. Maybe somebody else gets a couple snaps and one happens to get in the end zone. That's what you're playing it for, I guess. But yeah, I think spread out, and I think that I think fading the quarterbacks, except I fading Herbert as a captain, but playing Nix as a captain is something I like. That's in terms of the chalk. I just want to be underweight the Herbert chalk at a captain. I want to be underweight. I'm still probably going to be underweight Nix, but I'm just crossing Javonte Williams off as a captain. So maybe I'll give him a chance to be in like one lineup or something. But I don't want him. I don't want to play too much Javonte Williams tonight.
I think the Hassan Haskins experience is coming to a close, or no?
I mean, you got to get on the field,
right? I mean, the only time he's been on the field is for 1-yard touchdown runs, right?
Well, he hasn't. He had one this season.
Yeah,
I think it.
But you'd be surprised. A guy like this, he could be like 8% owned, and if you could just get rid of him, that opens up your lineups.
It does a little bit. I don't know if anybody's really going to play him, to be honest with you, because I think if they're going to pay that price, they're going to end up playing Hayden Hurst instead.
What about these other guys near the bottom again? I'm getting like tiny projections on a couple of guys like Laviska Shenault. I don't know if he's played yet this season. Tucker Fisk, I see getting his name called sometimes.
Shenault, the fumbler, he'll be kickoff return fumbler. He's like,
forget that. Then.
More likely to probably give you negative points, but it's not impossible that you could run one back or something.
Tucker Fisk, he's on the field sometimes.
Yeah. Has he caught anything? I guess he's had like one catch.
Oh, I don't know if he's caught anything.
Yeah, he's had one catch for 0 yards.
I just want to know if he's like literally like his name is like he has a uniform on. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, which is and by the way, that might be good enough tonight. You know, but I think what you mentioned, like whether it's Krull or Adkins from the Denver side, I think that those guys are worth taking. Adkins is getting like 0 ownership, and I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, he caught a touchdown last week. He's actually been productive enough, and he's projected, at 0.7 fantasy points. I think you are playing some of the. You're not crossing out the weirdo plays tonight. But I do want to emphasize again that I really like the Mims idea, especially with the extra running back down. I think we want to play. Maybe Mims is my differentiator at captain. It would have worked a couple weeks. It worked a couple weeks ago. Why not try it again? I think that's worth it. And he's actually been more productive than I feel like his numbers are saying, or that his projection is saying. They've got him at 6? Okay, but he over his last 4 games, he's averaging 15. I'll take a shot with Marvin Mims as captain. That's what I like anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll run it and I'll screw around, whatever. When we get closer, maybe we'll do another one. We do a full lineup build and stuff like that. So like at 7:00, you want to do this again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll get a better idea of who's in and who's not. And guys like Hayden Hurst who aren't showing up as much might end up being like a really good plays later on.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I hope you feel better today, and hopefully I'll see you at 6.
Okay. See you later.
All right. Good luck, everybody.